Hey everyone, in this video, I want to do a comparison that was requested by one of my channel members, Mike Oakley. Let me again thank you everyone that's joined as a member. Thank you for supporting the channel. It really helps me make more videos just like this one. I'm going to compare Snowflake stock to Intel stock and answer which one I think makes a better investment today. So without further ado, let's take a look at these two. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. All right, so the first thing I'm going to compare these two on is revenue growth. And two things stand out to me when I'm comparing these two. Number one, Snowflake, its revenue growth is decelerating rapidly. Number two, Snowflake is far ahead of Intel in revenue growth. So those two things stand out. You can see Snowflake's revenue growth falling from over 100% in late 2020 to 32.89% in the most recent quarter. Intel, meanwhile, has been accelerating revenue growth. It reached a low of close to negative 25% in the start of 2023, but now it's rebounding up to 8.61% in the most recent quarter. And over the several next quarters, I suspect its revenue growth will continue accelerating. It's in a great position to benefit from the replacement cycle in personal computers. That's supplemented by the enhancements in artificial intelligence of personal computers. And then Intel's investing aggressively in its foundry business, which will also further boost growth. So in terms of revenue growth, Intel is still likely to be behind Snowflake, but I suspect it might close the gap over the next few quarters as the trends converge. Snowflake decreasing, decelerating revenue growth, Intel increasing, accelerating revenue growth. Snowflake is still growing very nicely. 32.89% is a really healthy revenue growth rate. So nothing to be taken away from Snowflake there, as artificial intelligence is built on the foundation of data. Snowflake, being in the data business, is in a great position here. The next metric I wanted to compare these two on is the operating profit margin. And in this metric, Intel shows its huge advantage. Intel has been a profitable business for a long time now. In the most recent trailing 12-month period, it turned negative as the heavy investments in the foundry business, coupled with the revenue decreases, really hurt profitability. But that's now bouncing back and moving upward again. Snowflake making improvements, but still negative here, negative 38% operating profit margin after making huge improvements in 2021 and early. Intel had a long history of excellent cash flow from operations. Recent quarters, recent year and a half or so, it dipped because of the revenue decreases and the heavy investments. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Intel doesn't rebound here, approaching 40% again, not this year. Snowflake wouldn't surprise me if in 5-6 years' time closes this gap to Intel in terms of profitability and surpasses Intel in terms of profitability. Snowflake is a more asset-light business model, doesn't need those heavy investments in manufacturing capacity, in research and development like Intel does. And so over the longer term, Snowflake could very well likely be a more profitable business if it continues growing at these growth rates. So as of right now, Intel has the advantage in profitability, but longer term, the business model favors Snowflake over Intel in terms of profitability. All right, the next metric I wanted to compare these two is on cash flow from operations to sales. And interestingly, in this metric, Snowflake has exceeded Intel. At 30.02%, Snowflake has made great improvements in this metric. The big difference here is that Snowflake uses significant sums of stock-based compensation, and that's a non-cash expense, so it makes its cash flow look better than its operating profit margin. The downside to that is that it dilutes shareholders, it increases the share count, and when or if the company becomes profitable, those profits will need to be split among more shares. Intel had a long history of excellent cash flow from operations. Recent quarters, recent year and a half or so, it dipped because of the revenue decreases and the heavy investments. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Intel doesn't rebound here, approaching 40% again, not this year, probably not next year, but perhaps the following year, when it starts to reap the benefits of these billions and billions in investments in the foundry, I wouldn't be surprised if Intel's cash flow from operations rebounds again, because Intel, like Snowflake, uses significant sums of non-cash expense, but the difference being that Intel has a significant sum of depreciation and amortization because of all of the capital it invests in the business. So differing ways that they both employ non-cash expense that improves cash flow from operations. Snowflake with stock-based compensation, Intel with depreciation and amortization, and both of which can achieve great cash flow from operations longer term. All right, the last metric I wanted to compare these two on is the forward price to earnings ratio. And here we notice again another big difference. Snowflake is trading at a very expensive forward price to earnings of 128, while Intel is trading at a forward price to earnings of 15. We heard of Snowflake's advantages longer term. The business model is more lucrative. It's likely to be more profitable in the long term. Its cash flow from operations is better than Intel already, and it's likely to be even better longer term. Its revenue growth is better than Intel. So Snowflake, better than Intel. If they were trading at the same price, it would be a no-brainer. I would pick Snowflake without hesitation, hand over fist. But they're not selling at the same price. Snowflake is 8 times more expensive than Intel. Does it deserve an 8x premium valuation over Intel? I would argue no. I would argue it hasn't shown me enough to deserve an 8x premium over Intel. Somewhat of a premium, yes. I feel it does deserve a premium over Intel, but not 8 times. Not 8 times. So if I had to pick between these two growth stocks, I would pick Intel. Intel would be my choice of better stock to buy today. Longer term, I wouldn't be surprised if Snowflake takes over, if Snowflake becomes the better value, especially if it demonstrates this level of growth and the stock price remains flat. That would make it a better value because you're getting more at the same price. But for now, Snowflake stock is a little overvalued compared to Intel and compared to other investments available today. So thank you again for making this request. Thank you again for all the members of the channel and the subscribers. I truly appreciate your support. It really helps me sustain and maintain this channel. Before I let you go, let me tell you about the greatest deal on YouTube. With just a click of a button, you can get free financial analysis from a professor with decades of investing experience. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.